And hello everyone, the second day of the World Championship has come to an end, and probably such large competition are always filled with the information events. Let's talk about how the second day ended, what interesting things have happened since yesterday. To begin with, there was an interesting moment with the broadcast of the finals on Match TV. It appeared at the last moment, and the commentators became the most discussed after the competition of yesterday's finals. Several articles were published at once about the broadcast, where the Russian broadcast was condemned. And I even found an advantage here, people really started talking about gymnastics. If not for the scandal with the Olympics, it's unlikely that so many sports bloggers would have picked up this topic and would have begun to express their opinion on this matter. So the scandal attracted a huge number of people to gymnastics, and gymnastics really becomes interesting not only to fans. Personally, I'm very happy, unless of course we take into account that all of this was achieved by unpleasant methods. But in fact, such things work, and before our eyes there has been an increase in interest in sports among ordinary people. Well, I also must say that according to the eyewitnesses, today's broadcast on Match TV was much better. Apparently someone told the commentator to express more respect for all athletes. And of course I watched the broadcast again with English commentator and advice from the bottom of my heart for the future. According to the broadcast of the qualification, today everything was even worse. The broadcast for journalists didn't work, and in fact, the competition could only be watched through Valeria Yezvak's Instagram. So many thanks to Valeria for the real popularization of gymnastics and that we were able to watch almost all performances. In the broadcast, she answered various interesting questions about gymnastics and told that in Japan these competitions are not covered and there are not even banners near the stadium. I think this is due to the coronavirus, but in any case, it's a pity that they do not attract local fans. So it turns out that online people were not allowed to see and also were not allowed to come. Somehow it's a shame. Well, now let's get to the qualification itself and its results. Today the girls performed with clubs and ribbon, qualified for the finals of individual apparatus, scored points for the team, and the most interesting things was the selection for the all-round, which will be held on Saturday. The gymnast who got the highest score with 3 exercises went to the final of the individual all-round. So the first place according to the results of the qualification was taken by Dina and Arina, breaking away from the nearest rivals by 2 points. As a result, it turned out that Dina qualified the best in each apparatus. She had the highest score. Today, Dina also did a great job with the clubs and ribbon in qualification. Her sister, Irina Viner, was the second qualification. Irina did the clubs very confidently, which I think I haven't seen from Arisha for a long time. Very often she is cautious or very worried, and today the clubs were just like fire, which surprised me, especially considering that there were small errors in the ribbon. She had problems with the trajectories of it, for which the red deduction. At one moment it was immediately noticeable that Irina seems to have blown off the ribbon with an air conditioner, because she was clearly waiting for it in another place. By the way, some people wrote that Irina was underscored for the ribbon. I don't think this isn't the case, given that there was small errors and the fact that the scores are always slower with it. In general, 23 points and 6 tenths is almost the same score as Dina's. The difference is 2 tenths. Of course, I don't sit and don't overdo the scores, but genuinely, I'm a little bit frightened by this trend that as soon as the major competition our gymnast scores are not like at the Russians' home competitions, people start talking about being sued, underscored, and so on. Apparently, I was wrong when I said that girls are pampered with such scores. It seems that fans are taught with such assessments. In any case, no matter what the scores were, girls won and coped well with qualification. They are a great gymnast, and in the whole country was definitely proud of them. Well, in Russians, they are undoubtedly the best. Elena Harnaska is a gymnast from Belarus and remained third in qualification. Everything wasn't smooth in qualification today, but there is something to fix in the finals. Mariana Kalin, a Bulgarian gymnast, she remained fourth. Today, she clearly passed her qualification much better and improved her scores. If she goes well in the all-round, in the first 2 apparatus, then the fight for medals will become really intense. Milena Baldassari became the 5th. Milena performed 3 apparatus in qualification and didn't do a ribbon. As a result, high scores allowed her to be so high in qualification, and the absence of mistakes in all apparatus allowed her to safely pass into the individual all-around. Victoria Nebryenko, a gymnast of Ukraine, passed from 6th place to the final. Victoria had problems in ribbon, but in general the qualification was done perfectly, and this is clear improvement in the recent times. After her, Kristina Pogranichna. The girls in all tournaments are side by side, and for me it seems very nice, just like Averina's sister's support is nearby. And Kristina coped well with her programs today. Japanese gymnast Kita Sumira took 8th place in the individual all-round. Then 9th place was taken by Tatiana Volozhanina from Bulgaria, and Anastasia Salas closed the top 10. I think it's a relief for me that we will see Anastasia in the final of the individual all-round. Today, unfortunately, Anastasia didn't succeed again, but the points were enough to get in the all-round. Yesterday, I asked you about why you think this happened to Nastya on the first day, and I agree with the thoughts that you wrote. So when Nastya threw the hoop for the first time, it was just an accident. It happens with everyone. And then when changing the apparatus, she couldn't adjust to its weight, and in the end, everything flew the wrong way just because she got used to the different hoop. Latvian gymnast Elizaveta Plastinaya passed from the 11th place to the final, followed by our young star Sofia Raffaeli. Sofia did 3 apparatus and one of them is ribbon, so I'm sure that we will see much higher on Saturday if she doesn't do gross mistakes. The 13th was Brazilian gymnast Barbara Dominguez, followed by Fanny Pignitsky from Hungary. The 15th place was taken by Andrea Verdes from Romania, then Margarita Kolosov from Germany. Ekaterina Vedenieva from Slovenia got to the final from 17th place, and the final gymnast that we will see in the final of individual all-round was Chisaki Oliva. And now a little bit about those whom we will not see. My personal love, Alexandra Ajajikuleze, did only 2 apparatus, and she remains without a final. Zhao Yue, a gymnast from China, scored points as a gymnast in 18th place, but didn't get into final because the Japanese gymnast had 2 better scores. Another upset moment is for Maëlle Millet, a gymnast from France, who missed only 500th, and this didn't allow her to get into finals. And she could get these points if she finished the exercises on time, so she had several deductions for not having time with the music. The gymnast from US will miss the individual all-round final for the first time since 2011. Evita Griskinas became only the 3rd cis in the overall ranking. For her, the Olympics was the best start. She performed much better there. By the way, this is about the fact that it's impossible to always be at the peak of a form, and someone had it at the Olympics and someone performs better here at the World Championship. In general, these are not only cool gymnasts who didn't make it to the finals, and of course it's bad that there are fewer places, but on the other hand, the all-round will be more intense and faster. Well, let's move to our favorite rubrics, the best from the end. I took into account only those who performed with 3 or more apparatus and could theoretically qualify for the individual all-around. So, in the last place is a gymnast from India, Kaur Bavlian. The gap from the first place is almost 50 points. Then Angola's gymnast Loana Gomez rose a little higher. Guatemala gymnast Leslie Porres Osorio was 3rd from the end. And Shannon Gardiner from the South Africa was a little higher. And the top 5 from the end and above all is the gymnast of San Marino, Lucia Castiglioni. Well, now to the most interesting things about medals. The finals with the club ended with a victory of the Russian gymnast Dina Averina. Dina was very pleasant with her performance. However, there was an inaccurate catch, for which most likely there was a deduction, and therefore the score is not high as it could be. In the kiss and cry with Irina Viner, they discussed that Dina caught something for the first time. As I understand, they were talking about the ending. But in general, judging by their faces, Irina Viner and Dina weren't completely satisfied with the scores. The second was Irina Averina, and everything was fine except for one thing. I didn't quite understand what happened. Either a leg gave away or Irina was trying to catch a club, but as a result, Irina wasn't content with her performance, judging by her face. Although Irina Viner was asking her yesterday, she was smiling. When Irina was sitting in a kiss and cry, I think they had doubts that they would be able to become the second, because when the scores were announced, Irina Viner was very happy. Anastasia Salas became the third, and this, as for me, is a reward for her nerves that she left after the first day, the only final and a medal. Just a good girl. In the end, Anastasia was happy and even almost cried. I really like it when there are shots from the kiss and cry at the tournaments to watch how the girls react to the scores and how they behaved after training, how they communicate with coach. You can see how good the relationship is and which coaches support their girls. By the way, going back to yesterday's moment with Irina Derugina, someone wrote that they didn't believe in the sincerity of Irina Derugina, and as for me, emotions after the loss of Victoria were sincere. At least I believe in these emotions and believe that she is sincerely worried about Victoria. And in the interview, she probably says something unflattering to cheer up the girls, and they tried even harder and gave their best in training. Mariana Kalin became the fourth in the final with the clubs. Unfortunately, this wasn't the best execution. There were inaccurate catches and losses, so for Mariana, this tournament somewhere near pedestal. She constantly somewhere in the fourth place and doesn't fall below and hasn't won the medals yet. The fifth was Alina Harnaska, who also made a very insulting loss which cost her a medal. In Kiss and Cry it was heard how Irina Lebarska supported Alina and argued that this is a sport and such experience is also experience. Milana Baldessari took the sixth place, Victoria Naprienko became the seventh, and Kristina Pogranichna closed the top 8. The final with the ribbon was another tragedy for Russia, at least judging by their reaction to the scores. So Alina Harnaska won the gold medal in the final with the ribbon. Alina passed the exercise perfectly. I especially liked her reaction at the end. It wasn't all perfect, there was one element that wasn't executed quite cleanly. The silver medal was won by Dina and Arina. Dina passed without visible mistakes and in fact lost to Alina in body difficulty. In terms of the purity of the performance, Dina scored a higher score, and in terms of the difficulty of the apparatus, Dina's scores was also higher, but the difficulty of the body unfortunately didn't allow Dina to win a gold medal here. The most curious thing is that we are now saying that according to the new rules, the elements of the body are not so important, but Dina loses in this criterion due to the back problems. A protest was filed for the evaluation, but it was rejected. The reaction wasn't the most attractive. There were also some swear words heard, and I'm sure that the majority will again believe that Russia was sued. Now about the advantages. I like that after some times, when the girls were awarded, they behaved joyfully. Irina Averina became the bronze medalist in the ribbon. She did the ribbon very well, with which she often had problems. But anyways, there were errors, so in the end there was not the right trajectory, because of which she had to overdo it, and for which there is a deduction. And also, Irina jumped on turn, which I think also affected the scores. For the fans, of course, it became doubtful that Irina was evaluated for a long time. I think this was due to the fact that there was a controversial moment on the turn, and most likely the judges had different estimates at this point, so they were rechecking. Irina also submitted a protest for her scores, but it also was rejected. I wouldn't like to associate protests with Russia whenever they don't win. The fourth in the final with ribbon was Kristina Pogranichna, a very joyful smile at the end. I think she was very pleased with performance. In the fifth place was Tatiana Volozhanina. After her, Alexandra Adjichikulezis, she made a loss in the ribbon. Ekaterina Vizhneva became seventh, and Mariana Kalin closed the top 8. Unfortunately, not everything worked out with the ribbon. Rather large loss was made, and leaving the carpet, Mariana was crying. Apparently, the peak of the form for her didn't fall on this tournament. And of course, for Russian fan, the loss was a pleasant moment. We got used to the fact that Russian gymnasts are always the first, and the athletes themselves are used to it, and I think this is probably a normal reaction. In any case, the girls are great and huge hard workers, and everyone deserves all gold. But one cannot disagree that the competition is really high and Alina looked gorgeous in the ribbon. Well, we say goodbye to you until tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll have a group team all round as well as the results of the team all round. At the moment, the gymnasts of Russia remain the leaders here. The Ukrainian team is the second and the Italian team is in the third place. Well, remember that I love you all very much and bye bye.